Yo, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Michael Ray HeyBower. I had a video request where somebody gave me a few bucks to make a video about this subject and my experience. So, if you'd like to do that for a future video, hit me up on social media in DMs and let me know, and we can work together a price, and I'll make a video for you explaining the answers or the situation. It's kind of like Cameo, but it's also done cheaper and on a personal lever. But I will air the episode on, if I do it, or the opinion, I will post the video on my YouTube channel as well, and you can post it on yours if you feel the need to, if you're the one that presented this question or asked for my opinion. Please do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel for future and exclusive and early content. And I got merchandise down below. If you'd like to support, I'd appreciate it, because this is my job. It's not a good job, but it is my job. And that way, I also have cameos as well, where I give you longer shout outs and videos, and it's more personalized than this. But again, if you want one of your actual thoughts or questions or concepts in a video for everybody to see, let me know, and we can make that happen for a few bucks. Because, I have to do this stuff. Like I said, it's my job. It's not a good job, but it is my job. All right. This is coming in respect for Carlo Riley. He is a Michael Jackson impersonator. He is friends with me on Facebook. How you doing, Carlo? And he is a big-time Michael Jackson fan, and he has lived through the impersonations and all the divisiveness that comes along with being a performer of Michael Jackson. And maybe I'll post his link to his Facebook. You can see his pictures and everything down below. But he saw my story on how I became an actor, and he's witnessed or heard me talk about a couple instances where I've met and worked with Michael Jackson and his entities of the like. And he asked me to make a big video explaining my interactions with Michael Jackson, to all my ability. Again, I am not best friends with Michael Jackson. That's not what happened. But I have had 3, let's call it 4 interactions with Michael Jackson, but 3 that is when he was here. You'll understand by the end of this video. But I have had 3 major interactions with Michael Jackson. 3. Sorry, I'm trying to count them in my head. I'm an old man. So let's get right to it. If you watch my How I Became an Actor video, I'll put that link down below as well. It's also on my Instagram. It's pinned. But I became an actor by meeting Quincy Jones when I was in Glee Club, and Quincy worked with Michael Jackson. And around that time, we did a musical for Quincy Jones in Glee Club. And we didn't do it for them. We did it. We performed in front of Ronald Reagan, and watched that video for the whole story. But Quincy Jones basically hired us to do the play at the LA Children's Museum. Then we also did some sound recordings where they recorded our play, the musical. It was a musical. I was the star of it. And around that time, we sang. They paid us, and we sang parts of We Are the World. And I can't prove it to be true, because I'm not there, but we recorded We Are the World, We Are the Children as a choir and a Glee Club. And then We Are the World came out right around that time. And there's a children's choir and a bunch of children singing, as well as the celebrity artist. And I can only assume that they used our recording, and I'm a part of the We Are the World Children's Choir. We did get paid for it as well. But we also recorded our musical too. So it was interesting. They helped out the school a lot. Quincy Jones did. Coldwater Canyon. Go Wildcats! Sorry, that's a good memory. So that was my first interaction. So Michael Jackson watched the play as well around this time. He went to the LA Children's Museum, watched the play with Quincy, saw the video footage, saw our play, and stuff like that. And we knew he was there. but I didn't really interact with him or meet him at that moment. But that still is an interaction to me, and how basically Quincy Jones and all of them kind of started my career. And again, PDF file allegations set aside, that is kind of how I started my career. Because I did the musical in front of Ronald Reagan, I had agents knocking down my door, blah, 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 blah. Watch that video. Then my second interaction was a few years later, like when I officially became an actor, and I had agencies and I was going into acting school and all that. I got one of my first jobs, and it was from Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson, MJJ Productions, for Sony Studios, where Sony Studios and Michael Jackson Productions created their like company together. And they were doing a movie called Moonwalker. And I was always remembered as they did kind of basically start my career. And Quincy Jones was aware of my agent, and he knew what was going on because they kept him apprised, because he had a hand in it since I was the star of the play and all that other stuff that he had a hand in helping us like do earlier. Again, watch the video. Link down below. So where was I? So then all of a sudden I get a part to be in Moonwalker, but it wasn't the actual movie itself. They were doing these little vignettes. One of the vignettes was called Badder. And what it is, it's a recreation of the Michael Jackson Bad music videos. But it had little kids reprising the roles of the original dancers and Michael Jackson in the bad music video, Who's Bad? And I'm sure you guys have seen the video with the little kids. But they also filmed the behind the scenes production of that. But again, the director, the writers, the cameramen, the soundmen, the prop people, the gaffers, the grips, the casting directors were all kids. So they hired actors to play the crew, to play the producer, the director. You get it? So everything was being made by kids on kids on kids. Even though there's an adult film crew filming us, and it looks like we're making the Badder video that is starring little kids. And that was filmed at like Sony Studios, and there was a ton of kids in this project. Now, some people say that's what Michael Jackson was doing to meet some kids. I can't discuss that. Again, allegations aside. But that was the video. So I was a part of the film crew. I was like a gaffer and a grip of the Badder music video that was made. So I was the actor that was playing like the grips or the gaffer, like the big gaffer guy, the grips that hold all the poles and everything. And they filmed a lot of scenes where we're dancing to the song, we're breakdancing. Shaun Weiss was in it, Goldberg. That's how I met Shaun Weiss that played Goldberg. There's a lot of other actors that were there. Brandon Adams was the Michael Jackson in the video. I became friends with him. There was a lot of actors that were in the behind the scenes, like it's so confusing. Not in the bad video, but the behind the scenes version of it. There was a lot of younger kid actors, some of them that went on to success. And I think Jennifer Love Hewitt was one of them. Trying to recollect, I should have wrote it down. Oh, the kid in Hook, the fat kid in Hook. I worked with him on a couple occasions. What's his name again? He's awesome. Sorry, guys, I didn't do my research, but there was a lot of actors that. Ryan Gosling. Yeah, what am I talking about? I just saw his movie the other day. Ryan Gosling was one of the kids in the video as well, like one of the producers or whatever in the video. And I'm sure you can recognize dancers in the actual video. But all of this footage, long story short, all of this actor behind the scenes film crew footage, they did all these little skits and vignettes, and they were making like a mini documentary of the making of the music video Badder with little kids, like with a kid documentary. I don't know what happened to it. We kind of heard it might have been on the DVDs or the VHS, but it never was. Only the music video itself made it into the DVDs. None of the behind the scenes stuff, and it's just kind of sad because I would have liked to see how they put that documentary together. Um, Hopefully, it comes out in the future, but I doubt it. They probably had so many problems or contractual problems with all the kids. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. But it's just interesting to think about. But that's my situation with that episode. So what we did, so my next interaction with Michael Jackson was they had the premiere for Moonwalker. They had it at the Neverland Ranch. We were all invited. So I went and they showed the Moonwalker, the movie. They showed those animated music videos and everything at the premiere. So I ended up going to Neverland Ranch, and it was amazing. But we couldn't bring in cameras. We couldn't do anything. Everything was stopped at the gates. It was their event. It was like a carnival. So I was hoping to see myself, but whatever. We were all invited. I got to talk to Sean. I got to see if Sean went. I don't remember talking to him that night. I think I do. Do I? I don't know. My brain is weird. So we went to that event, and then Michael Jackson's there. So this is my second interaction with Michael Jackson. And so what happened was, a couple of instances that I remember is I knew about the Neverland Ranch, and it's out here in the valley, so it wasn't hard to get to. But my pops drove me and hung out. My pops was always in the smoking section, And the kids were we had little carnival rides. They had popcorn. They had like cotton candy. They had like a Pirates of the Caribbean ride. They had like what is that thing where you get on the horses? They had like a bunch of rides. They had like a Dazzler ride. And I was like, literally, we're in Disneyland. Like, that's how it felt. We're doing rides and all this. It's like a carnival in his house. It was just insane. And then there was one moment before we went on all the rides and everything, Michael comes out like on a podium in front of his house. Not on his house, but there was like a podium built where the big screen was underneath it. And, they had all the seats and everything. Michael Jackson comes out, we're all cheering, like right after we get to the event at like 5 o'clock or something like that. They're going to show the movie at like 7 o'clock or something like that. And he comes out and he's like, hi. I hate doing impressions. It's not very good. But, hi, I want to thank you all for coming out. You're being a part of Moonwalker. My first movie. Whatever he said, I can't really remember. But my God. Then the statement that I always remember looking back at as an adult is, he goes, okay, go ahead and play. Go frolic. Go play. There's no rules. There's no rules in Neverland. Looking back as an adult, I'm like, oh, shit. And all of this stuff. But what a great moment that I was a part of. So that was my second interaction with Michael Jackson. And I've had, again, people have heard my stories about Spielberg. Ivan Reitman, Spielberg, like, oh my God, my life. I don't want to die. I have heart issues. I don't want to die. But my God, these moments and stuff, man, I wish it happened like with like camera phones and everything we got nowadays. And I would be sneaking things in there, man, taking pictures. And I did lose a lot of footage and pictures of some of my celebrity friends that we hung out with on many occasions. I lost a hard drive. I don't want to talk about it. Many of you guys know. But still, I still got some of it. I found some of it recently. I found videos of Brittany Murphy, a couple little videos of Leo and Toby and Sarah Gilbert before we sent Leo off to do, what was that movie? Boy's Life, This Boy's Life. I found a couple of those videos the other day. Maybe I'll present them in the future. For members only. Where was I? So yeah, that was my second interaction with Michael Jackson. And then a few years later, I got a job at a comic book store. When my life wasn't going so well and I needed money, I had to get a real job. And this is before I did like Evolution and other stuff like that. This is like 98. Whew, my heart is racing. I've been making a lot of videos today. Sorry, Carlo, if it's getting too long. But so I was working at a comic book store called Things from Another World on Universal City Walk, and I needed a job, and it was before my comeback because I needed to pay the bills because I helped support my family. We never had a lot of money, and I was working at a comic book shop called Things from Another World on Shitty Walk, and then one day I forgot who our manager was at the time. Was it Karina? Was it one of the other guys? I can't think of their name right now. I love Karina though. Um, mm. Long story short, Universal Security or whoever shows up tells our manager at the time something that the store needs to close down for like an hour or so. And I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, big wigs were on the phone to each other, blah, blah, blah. And then we were told to close. It was a rainy day, though, so there was not a lot of people there. And they closed the store like I forget the time. I'm just going to say like 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock, right? And we were going to be closed from like 1:30 to like 3:30 or 4 o'clock or something like that. I guess they paid for it to be closed. And we were told a special guest is going to arrive. So we started thinking it was the owner of Dark Horse Comics. The owner of Dark Horse Comics owns that comic book store called Things from Another World. And we were thinking it was him. We're like, oh man, it's going to be him. You know, he's coming out to check out his store, you know, his breadwinner at Universal Studios, City Walk. So we didn't know. But then all of a sudden, oh, it's happening. You know, security guards start to show up and, you know, next thing you know, we're closed. The doors open up and then somebody walks in. I forgot who it was. Somebody in their entourage goes, all right, don't speak unless spoken to. Don't look in their eyes. Do not bother them. Do not get in their way. And unless they ask you for help with anything, you know, like don't say anything, like don't do anything. Okay, well, luckily it was a rainy day and I was the only person on the floor. I was a floor worker. You know, I show the items and sell the items. I was the only floor worker. Then we had the supervisor or manager. I forgot who it was. And then we had the cashier. I think that was that Adira? Might have been Adira that day. So there's only three of us there, right? There's only three of us there. Next thing you know, this gentleman walks in, coverings all over his face, like a mask, glasses, and, you know, like a sweater or hood or something like that. You know, walks in, you know, like this while they're walking past the manager, the security guards. You know, then I'm in the back. They'll buy the T-shirts. Like I'm in the back. And then we have all the, you know, comic books and toys and, you know, figurines and in the counters. And then, you know, it's a he. He's walking around and then he points at something. And I believe it was Karina. Karina's like, Michael, you know, Michael. So then I open up the counter because, you know, she hands me the key and I open up the counter and then he points at a figurine. I forgot what it was. I should remember. I think it was Wolverine or something like that. One of these figurines. Oh, it might have been Spider-Man. Think of that. I'm wearing the Spider-Man shirt. It was either Wolverine or Spider-Man or one of these big figurines. But I knew who it was at this time. It was Michael Jackson. We figured that out. But I didn't want to say anything that he started my career and I've worked with him. I didn't want to say anything. So I hand him the figurine. I step back. Karina walks away with the keys. And then he goes to me. And I walk up, yes, sir. He goes, how much is this? I kid you not. He asked me, how much is this? I was thinking, you're Michael Jackson. I made the joke. I said, for you, probably free. He giggled. He freaking giggled. He goes, eek. But we had the little sign of how much it was. It's probably like $199 or something. And I pointed at it. And then, you know, he goes like this. And then he hands it to Karina. Boom, she puts it there. And then a few minutes later, he was talking to somebody. Right? They come back and they talk to him. And he's looking around the store. And then he walks past me again now, looking at the t-shirts. And probably 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, the whole store is his. Then he comes up to me. And again, these are why my interactions are just so memorable. I know they seem hard to believe, and I know I have a big imagination, and some of the instances might be embellished. And I just hope that I'm not completely crazy or misremembering everything. I don't think I am, because I pretty much remember and I live every moment of my life, either the good or the bad. But my recollection, and I remember it clear as day, so I believe it's true. Unfortunately, with today's world, where I don't believe anything anymore, I just have to give you guys that incentive. But he walks up to me while I'm next to the t-shirts, holding my fist like this. After I gave him that joke, probably for you, it's free, and he giggled. And then he walks up to me after talking to these two people a little while earlier. Then he comes up to me. So how you been, Michael Bauer? Why am I doing the accent? It makes it even stupider. I'm like, oh, I'm okay. He goes, oh, you've had a good career. He was told who I was. They looked it up. They knew. Maybe he knew I worked there, or they got the information. They got it to him. Maybe one of these people is Quincy Jones's boys. And I don't think he knew I was there at the store in order to visit it. But I think somehow they realized who I was, or he recollected who I was when I brought out the figurine. And then he kind of just remembered my voice, because I've always had that, the physique that people just always remember, or the voice that people remember. And I don't know what happened, but like I said, he ended up talking to a few people. And then, I'm sure they have my name, as an employee, and he mentioned it. And then they put two and two together. And then he's like, oh, this is the guy that was in the play. And so it was a coincidence that all of a sudden he's there. And he's like, oh, you've had a good career. Wow. And I was like, oh, thank you, sir. And I go, you probably don't know this, but I was in Moonwalker in the Batter remake as the behind the scenes faction. And the musical that you showed up at, our musical was called "We Are the Children of the World." Whatever, but so I was like nervous as heck, and I told him, this as quick as possible, because we're not really supposed to speak to him unless spoken to. So I was really nervous as heck. And then he's like, oh, you've had a good career. And I was like, yes, I was in this. And he's like, yes, I know. He's like, good to see you. And then, he just walked on, did his thing. Bought a bunch of things, or they gave it to him for free or whatever. And, he thanked everybody, shook everybody's hands. I wish we could have gotten pictures, but you don't ask them for that. And unless they tell everybody, hey, let's get a picture, you don't do it. You just don't do it. But so that was that's like my third real interaction with Michael Jackson. Sorry, I'm getting a little tired. I've done like 4 videos today. Getting that work in. So a few years later, well, I forgot what year it was, but many years later, well, a couple years later, I went back to acting. I got an agent. I started doing the show Dark Angel, X-Files. My career started to come back a little bit. I got Evolution, and I started to get in the spotlight again. And then I was still auditioning for projects and all this other stuff. And then I was with my father at the Veterans Hospital when the news came that Michael Jackson passed away. And that was just gut-wrenching to a lot of people. A lot of people wanted it to happen or whatever. Again, political PDF files, accusations, whatever. But I remember where I was. I was at the Veterans Hospital waiting for an appointment with my father, and we started talking about that. And then me and my father started reminiscing about all the stories of the Neverland Ranch, the premiere. My father knew that Michael Jackson went to the comic book store that I was working at, And we were just like, wow, this is so sad. This is so sad. And then I don't remember the dates, but around that time, maybe a couple weeks later, they were making funeral arrangements. They were going to do it at the Hollywood Park or something in like the Valley, like Burbank or wherever it's called, Forest Lawn, I think it was. Is it Hollywood Park or Forest Lawn? It was Forest Lawn, I think. Whatever. But long story short, I had um, I had an audition one day uh, for I think it was it Suits. Might have been for the show Suits. But I had a big audition that day, pretty close to Forest Lawn. And so I went to do the audition, and I was hanging out with the casting directors, and they were working on the part with me because they really wanted me for the role. So they were just talking about how they're apparently going to do the funeral, or he might be laid to rest at that Forest Lawn that was in the neighborhood of where I did my audition. So they were talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, is that what's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, I go." And then I think one of the casting directors said, "What are their names again? They're awesome people. I love them. I hope to see them again." But so they go to me, "Oh, didn't you work on a Michael Jackson project?" And I was like, "Yeah," because they saw it on my resume. And then I started telling them the stories of kind of how I became an actor and everything. So I was getting along with them. This doesn't happen for a lot of casting directors where you actually can be personal with them. So I told them my stories, and they were like, "Wow, that's interesting." They go, "So you worked with Quincy Jones and this and that?" "Oh, we know some people too." I was like, "Really?" I go, "Well, yeah, that's my story. That's like my truth." And I don't know what they did, but so after the audition, I didn't get the part. I went very close. I didn't get the role, which is fine. It happens. Somebody else got it for that whole episode of, I think it was Suits. I got to look it up. It might not have been Suits. That might be more recent. It was another show. I can't remember. I got to go look that up. But they talked to somebody and said, "Hey, we had Michael Bauer in, and apparently this is how he became an actor. He worked with you or your company, and these are his interactions with Michael Jackson." You know, and the next thing you know, the producers, or I mean the casting directors, contact me, and they're like, "Hey, can we give your number out to these people? They wanted to talk to you about like something personal or business related or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead, no problem." They felt bad because I didn't get the part on the show, but I'm like, "Go ahead, you're a casting director. I love you guys." Next thing you know, I get a phone call asking for my email and how I've been, and where do I live, and do I need travel accommodations. And I'm talking to these people, and I'm like, "For what?" And they go, "Well, Michael Jackson's having a funeral event, or the family of his estate is having a funeral, and they want guests to attend that had a hand or a part in Michael Jackson's life in any status." I was being invited to the funeral. So I gave them my email. They sent me these tickets, and you're goddamn right, I went. We couldn't bring cameras. We couldn't do anything, even though it was being televised. Um, Quincy Jones was there, said hello to me again, and yeah, those are my interactions with Michael Jackson. And again, I'm just going to preface this. You may not believe me. I'm not going to say I don't care, but I hope in the future that you realize I'm a truthful person, or I try to be to the best of my ability. And I know all of my interactions seem very embellished or whatever, because I've been told that so many times. And whether they are or not, because things do get embellished in life, the actual instance or the thing or the event or the moment, those are not embellished. Okay? The reason why I look down is because I feel bad. I've had so many comments from people that I love and respect that don't believe me. Like, so it's okay. I can't prove it. I just have to hope that you guys believe it. You look at my resume and you see how all of these stories intertwined. And that's all I can say or do. But I did at one occasion, on one occasion, prove one of the stories to a major celebrity while working on a movie. They didn't believe me that I was a part of We Are the World and the Children's Choir, and that my career got started with Quincy Jones when I was telling this major celebrity, Orlando Jones. They didn't really believe me, and my story seemed too far-fetched. So him and some of the other cast members had a good laugh, but they communicated. They contacted somebody, maybe Quincy Jones, and they told him that story and all that. And they came back to me and said, Michael, say hello to Quincy. And then I said hello to Quincy. And again, this may have had a hand in the funeral later in life because I've had all these interactions. But yes, this celebrity apologized and said, I'm sorry I doubted you, and told everybody else, yeah, that motherfucker wasn't lying. That is a true story. So that's all I can say or do. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I may shut off comments just because I'm insecure and I don't want to see hatred. I just can't deal with it sometimes. So I may shut off comments because I'm afraid. But I shouldn't be afraid if it's truth. I don't know. I'm so weird. I don't know what I'm going to do. Thank you guys for enjoying today's video. My life is a beautiful blessing. Every experience I have had, it may not be yours. You may not believe it. But they're in my head. They're in my soul. They're in my spirit. And these are my experiences. So I believe they're real. And why do I keep doing that? I should just be like, yeah, it's real. I don't care. I just don't have proof nowadays. I ain't got no damn photos, no nothing. All I got is my word, and sometimes the word. The word is the bird. Yeah, the word. The word is the bird. Don't you know? The bird is the word. I love you guys. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I hope you enjoyed today's video, Carlo. And anybody else, if you want me to speak about a topic or give an opinion on a subject, like I said, hit me up in DMs on social media, and we can talk about it. Then we can talk about price, and maybe I'll accept to do it, or maybe I won't. But either way, I love you guys. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. Hate can't hurt happy, so try to be happy. And I love you guys. And it's just another crazy conspiracy theorist making up stories. Even though you can do the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon and find out it's probably true.